So now I think there's a car guy's a car guy. Like if he knows the sound of his car, right? Okay.
Yeah, I
So
agree
let
with
me
that.
tell you. I got his detailer. I went to go see this week in Phoenix. You know him, Zaya. People have
Oh,
been
yeah.
around podcasts, know Zaya from a long time, right? Cool
Hey, I
dude.
noticed I didn't get an invite. That's all right. Whatever.
You know,
Whatever.
he didn't.
You, Zaya, guys are out to dinner. You're partying. No invite. That's all right. No
We were at the
worries.
Global Ambassador, pretty swanky little place. We didn't think you'd be allowed in.
Hey,
Nope.
up in the Dale, Scottsdale.
It was. Listen, men and hairspray. Let me tell you, I thought that was out of. Nope. Men and hairspray and
Hey.
Scottsdale's in.
Hey, it's that time of year too. These are snowbirds. You got to remember something. You got something going on here. You're at that time of year. The season in Scottsdale's coming to an end, right? They're going to get to like March, April, then they're going to leave before the heat. So they only got so much time yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess. The time clock's in. They got to get plenty of hairspray.
Scottsdale's a wild talent area.
It is. It's very interesting. It's very interesting. So we're sitting out there with all these, everything going on, and we were waiting, right? Waiting for valet to start, but then he starts a car, and Zaya goes, "There's mine." You go,
yeah,
nicely done, man.
So he brought his Corvette.
Brought his vet, and listen, he pulls it up, and this is where I loved it, right? He actually looks at me and goes, "What do you think?" Right? Because I was speechless. Like I was sitting there, it pulls up, and at first off, I'm looking at just going, okay, yeah, there's a vet, okay, but it's shiny. Great job, Zay, right? All me, the judgmental. We can all do it. Let's all just say if you're a detailer, you're going to judge the car. I get it.
Absolutely.
It is what it is. And I'm giving him check marks. Great job, man. Yeah, tires come back. And it's pulling through. I'm going, this is great. But then something catches my eye. And I sit there for a second. And he's like, well, you don't like it? And I'm like, no, I'm kind of speechless here. Like, what is it? And he's, well, what do you mean? What is it?
He's got that Damascus on there, that Damascus film. Yeah, no, look, his vet looks great. Looks great. He's done a great job. PPF head to toe, coating head to toe, different types of film. That Damascus film makes his car pop. He's done some interesting, had some people print out some things for him, 3D print some emblems and different things to represent his shop. I mean, this is kind of what you and I talk about, and we talk a lot on Clutch Culture right now, is quality is noticeable if you know what to look for. And you feel that when you're around somebody and you go, okay, they've done some modifications, but they've done elevated modifications. And I think that's, again, not to steal your thunder. I mean, I just wasn't invited, so I'm just trying to feel what it was like to be there, not being invited. You know what I'm saying? But no, I mean, he's done. His vet's always changed. He was doing something with the steering wheel last time I was there, having some stuff done there. I think it looks great.
So I didn't get to see the steering wheel, but you mentioned some of that things that he did customize, right? Like, and people always joke, do I wrap my van and do I put all this stuff all over? I think what's interesting about what he did, and I love the idea because it's something, you and I have done different things, a couple different ways. Somebody posted in the group, about some questions, and this is what's great about the specialist group. And we'll go into Dan's post here in a little bit about, the photo of what he was putting into his van and what he was going to do and some ideas. But I just thought for a second, I go, man, great job here. I love this because you went after golf clubs and it was kind of something particular. Zaya's done something I think is very neat where he spent and he invested, but it wasn't so much in the van or the wrap or that. You pull that up to this hotel.
Oh, yeah.
Every single person looks at it, right? Yep. Every single person. And 48 detail, nice, not plastered in some big thing.
Yes,
but exactly. Very clean, nicely put down right there at the bottom.
Yeah, no, and I remember when him and I were talking about him getting it, and he's done everything right. He's the, this is the thing that I love about this business is that, number one, when you own a business, man, you're always going to do somewhat your way. You're always going to do things your way. And that's what people stand on. Well, it's my business. I'm going to do it my way. the best part is when you watch people take all the things that work and just put a tiny twist on it to their way. See what I have seen in this business, and I especially think this is the last 5 to 7 years of this business, is that everybody thinks they need to reinvent the wheel because they want to look like the smartest person in the world. They want you to know they did everything their way. And you and I have had a ton of these conversations. This comes from all the conversations you and I've had with people, pros in every different state and every different economy around the country and sunny areas and places to get winter. It all goes to the same thing. Is when you look and you look at, Zaya, or you look at a multitude of people in that you and I know, the guys that have success do it a little bit their way. But then they just take the things that work in business and continue to repeat them over and over and over again. And it's been really cool. When I first met Zaya, he was just scratching the surface, man. He was just trying to figure his way out, like all of us. And now you go out to eat with them and you see the vehicle and you see the touches and you see all that. You go, man, this is the coolest part of all of this to me. After all this time in this business, is the success people can have. But guess what, man? They didn't have to reinvent the wheel. They just had to work the things that worked.
Yeah. So I joked with him, right? Because I said a second ago about being judgmental, but I told him, I said, listen, dude, it's clean. Like it's clean, but I kind of said it jokingly because, as he knows, and he'll listen. He said he listens to every episode, still does for so many years, right? And we joked at dinner. Wonderful food, loved it. They got us all these kind of hors d'oeuvres, and then we had food. Oh, the dessert, this ice cream little thing. Oh man, it's too much. You would have hated it. You'd have hated it.
Hey, Scottsdale is money, dude. Yeah, I would have hated it. I mean, that's why we didn't invite you. We knew you wouldn't have liked it.
You just would have hated it, so we didn't even invite you.
Yeah, I hear you.
But during dinner, he joked, and so I joked back with him at this time. I was like, "Hey man, it's clean, but you say you only wash it once a month." Right? Like, and that's what he says he does. Like, he says he'll put soap in a foam cannon and he'll foam it down. And he says that's all it needs. Right. And that's his opinion. And so we joke because his wife and my wife comparing OCD-ness to the way they clean their house and who helps out and who doesn't. Right. Like, does Zaya help out? Do I help with the dishes? Right. You can understand those type of moments of a conversation. It's a lot of fun. So he's looking at me like, wait, you're going to give me a hard time, aren't you? I'm like, well, hell yeah, I am, Zaya. Like, and she confirmed, she's like, he's out hours every weekend washing the car. And Zaya's like, no, you don't. I'm like, yeah, I do.
Yeah. But let's kind of say this though. Coating, PPF on that car every inch. This is the argument we would largely make to somebody who was, let's take him out of it as the pro and say, I have a bunch of people that we do business with that have weekend cars that, their dailies maybe need to get a certain amount of love, but the stuff that they have in the garage a lot of times and take out on the weekends and have it coated or have film on it and coated or whatever, the month thing makes sense in that context, right? Because that would be our argument. If first of all, if you look at Phoenix, it's not like they're getting tons and tons of bad weather. And of course, if he gets bad weather, he's going to have his Corvette inside, most likely.
His point.
And again, it's very possible. That's not how you're going to take care. Your wife has a car she puts lots of miles on. You have vehicles you drive back and forth to work. But if you had that Corvette and it only went out on nice days on the weekend, you could probably see the once a month thing. Because my BMW is probably in that situation.
There we go. I was waiting for it. Thank you. You took the bait, hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah, why?
Live on the podcast. We got another once a monther right there.
Here's the thing. I bet my BMW is not even getting 200 miles a month at this point. I mean, it hasn't even averaged 200 miles, and it's never going out in the rain. Like, that's just not happening. Not that we get a bunch of rain, obviously, but it's not going out in any inclement weather. And yeah, I mean, my BMW is probably once a month at this point.
Did you just hang your head when you did that? Did you kind of look down?
No, I'm good. Oh,
man.
Hey, I'm good. I'm very privileged to have a car that sits around, so I'm good.
There you go. That's the other side, right? Like, So when so many people, we always like, and there's the other flip of the coin. You never know what the habits are. You never know the car. Like Nick drives at 200 miles a month. Okay. Somebody might drive 200 miles a day. It's going to be different.
Easily.
You know,
Yeah,
it'll be a lot
easily.
different.
And like I said, I mean, if you look at my new daily, you and I were talking about this because we're talking about some development of product, but I mean, this thing, it's going to get a lot of love this week. I mean, it needs it. It needs a lot of different things, and you know, we got rain, and it gets a lot of mileage. I mean, I think I'm already cracked over 2,000 miles since I got this thing. I barely put 2,000 miles a year on my BMW. I mean, that's just the nature of the beast.
Huh? You and McDee's.
Well, I mean, I didn't really realize that, you know, I took it to Phoenix, so there's a bunch of miles. But what I didn't realize is I actually have been driving a lot, going to different places, checking on different things. For whatever reason, we have got an uptick in my clientele of like fender benders. So I'm having to do like a lot more. Can you fix this? You get a lot of those calls. Hey, do you think you could fix this? I just got to. So let me give you let's talk about a car wash story. We didn't talk about this before the episode. So I got a text today on a Lincoln Navigator that we have detailed since new. This is how crazy it can get in Vegas for customers. This person got their Navigator rained on and said, I didn't really want to call you back out here or any bother you, so I went to a car wash. What do you think happened? His door pillar's got a deep scratch on him. He goes, I think this is from the car wash. I'm like,
you think?
I'm like, you've never gone to a car wash before. Why did you go to a car wash? He's like, I don't know. It was just like dirty. I had somewhere to be. And I'm like, okay. And he goes, I can't believe I did it, but I think this is from Marty. I see the brush like going across. I'm like, yeah, man, we'll come out and look at it. But I had a Mercedes EQS get hit where it looked like the van that hit her was in like, got blown up by a bomb and there's just a scratch on the car. It's the most unbelievable. But that's why I think I've been getting extra money. I've literally probably had over 10 of those calls since I got my new daily. So I've had to like do a lot of those types of trips. Can I go check this out? Can we fix this? Can we fix that? I don't know. It's wreck season, evidently.
Well, season here is right. Snow's melting. We got beautiful weather. Definitely my car was in today. We got it cleaned up. I got some work. Some of the guys that work here got their cars cleaned up. We got their wives' cars scheduled for later this week. My wife's car, right? It is the time. You're right. It's the time to go after it. For those of us that clean on a regular basis, this might be different. But if you could randomly go, hey, once a month, I'm only going to wash it, what would you use? All right, there's the good question of the.
If you're going once a month, you got to go cleanse. If you're going once a month, you got to go cleanse.
Interesting. See, I'm going the other way. You went clean and I went protection. I'm going ceramic snow. I would have gone, hey, if I'm only washing once a month, I got to go heavy protection to make sure I'm good because I'm going to start with the cleanse and then I'm going to build as I go and do ceramic snow every month and continue on.
Yeah, I think I look at it. I'm probably a little different than what Zaya told you. If my car gets washed with anything, it's getting some level spray coat, slick, if not both of them. So I'm adding it regardless. So that would be the caveat to mine is if I used cleanse, if I use ceramic snow, it doesn't matter. I'm still coming back with one, if not both, of spray coat and slick. That would be my thing.
And that would be for you. And for me, I would go, it does matter. And I want to add even more because I'm only going to be washing it once a month.
Here's the cool thing. You're not in the club. So, you know, you're not in the 1 month, have a third vehicle that you just have for fun in the garage. So we don't have to, you guys are going to have to listen to me on this because this is what you do when you have a car that you just leave in the garage. That's funny.
We were comparing actually dust, right? This is when you get to that, right?
Sure.
You're sitting there and like, well, why only once? Well, what is it? And the joke of, we fly, everybody flies over our state. Ain't no reason to be there. So our cars are all real dirty, right? We got a bunch of crap flying around. Too much people flying over, creating some turret,
flyover states.
All right. So You got cleanse. Okay, I go ceramic snow. I'd love everybody else to input this. It'd be a fun one for people to input on specialists because Zaya he uses our ultra concentrate car soap.
Yeah.
And that's his go-to. And I was like, wait, really? He goes, yeah, on the 32 ounce, I pour the 5. And that's what, like, okay, man, go for
Yeah.
you. I bet you some people would be like, no, foam wash. Like,
Yeah.
some people would be like, Eco One. I don't know.
Yeah,
like
no, absolutely. I mean, I think, but that's why, the funny thing is when you start to make products, one of the things that you always have to wrestle with is, should we add this to our lineup? What you start to realize is that just talking about washing your car, we all have different ones we would use and for different reasons and for different things. And so a lot of times people look at product companies and are like, well, they came out with that many soaps because they're just trying to sell you something. It's like, no, actually, people just enjoy different things, where you may use ceramic snow twice a month. I may use ceramic snow once every 60 days, right? Or I may use it once every 90 days, or I may use it once a month or once every whatever it is that makes you enjoy using a certain soap or using a certain, interior cleaner or whatever, or whatever coating you pick for your car is largely become very individualized once you learn how to install it and you're not a beginner anymore. You go, do I want to put Trey on my new car? And I'm not going to keep it that long, so let me put Dose. So that is the thing we don't talk about is a lot of people just go, well, they're just doing it to do it. You kind of prove just you and I shooting the shit about this is like the truth is you pick a soap that fits what you're trying to accomplish with your car, and that's just different for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely true. All right, so it is a great time to be looking for some car care supplies, as we've talked about. Hey, weather's breaking. Also, we're getting into springtime. It is the time, right? It is by nature. It is the way it's supposed to be. The interesting part, though, is what do you do with now? There's so many. Well, at least I'm seeing it. A lot of cheap stuff out in the marketplace. And is it because of? And that's why I want to joke, but let's all have some fun here. Is it the tariffs? Is it what's happening? I want to bring this up. This is all just back and forth, joking and talking back and forth. But listen, if any of you have an elderly parent, as I do, you get to hear some ramblings every once in a while.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, you don't know if you need to tell them to shut up or can you just pause or you
wait, that's not just elderly anymore.
No,
we're hearing a lot of ramblings from a lot of people.
Oh,
I think you've kind of experienced that too.
I jokingly say shut up. It's more of like, do I just let them keep going and I just sip my coffee or look out the window while I'm talking on the phone, whatever it is, right? Like let them go on. But one interesting thing I heard, and so from mom with a grain of salt, right? Let's get it. But she's an avid Amazon shopper. Okay, avid. And Sam's, pretty much every Thursday at Sam's, I got to go pick up from 6 to 7 o'clock a Sam's order, right?
Yeah.
She's talking about how Amazon has begun sectioning off the cheaper items. And she feels it's because of the tariffs, feels it's because of, hey, who's in office and things are changing, right?
We're changing things.
But I saw a post also with a guy that got a brush off Amazon that came broken. I got a guy that he was questioning, he got this polisher, right? So you see in posts, you see in groups, you see people like, hey, for a moment, I love the idea. Let me go grab something cheap. Looks great. But then in the reality when they use it, so first off, just what it comes off your thoughts. If somebody's looking for car care at spring and I'm seeing on Amazon or I'm seeing some deal and it looks like some amazing thing, what's the first things you go, what should I be cautious about?
Well, I think the pandemic changed a lot. It changed a lot. Should have changed a lot of customer behavior. It seems like it did and it didn't. It seems like there's pockets where that happened. I'm a buy once, cry once guy. It's the way I've always been. It's the way I think I'll always be. I don't buy a lot of trinkets. I don't buy a ton of clothing. I just don't buy a lot, not because I'm trying to save money or it's just not what I do. Right. I mean, if I buy something, maybe I'll buy a watch or, something like that. But mostly I think what I learned, especially during the pandemic, and I think this is what kind of happened to a lot of my friends that I still, you know, how you have friends, you take their opinion on stuff and it's valuable. And then you have other friends, you go, I'm not going to take his opinion on stuff. The guys that I still take opinions on, they seem to be buying less, but buying higher quality. And what seems to have happened from that in my own personal life, and I would say, what I've tried to transition my family into thinking, we've even done it with the kids' Christmas gifts, is that when we give people a list, we go, don't send a bunch of BS. Here's some really nice things the kid would like. Buy one, don't buy 10. Okay, don't do that. And I think the same goes for car care. One of the things that you and I have learned is there's absolutely a difference in chemistry. There's absolutely a difference in quality of ingredients. There's just a difference, and you have to make the call. And I think the call that anyone should make is cars have never been more expensive. It doesn't seem like for the cars most people want that the price is coming down steeply, although it is getting more competitive. We're not going to go back to 30% less on cars. So I think I'm in the mindset of, I think sometimes we don't have a choice but to buy cheaper because maybe there isn't high quality stuff in certain things in detailing, but in chemicals and different things like that, you definitely can go quality.
So, her conversation, what we went into, which I think a lot of us probably have seen, some family members, maybe my sister, she went heavily, it's called like Sheen or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. Hey, that's
interesting, right?
Yeah, that's
interesting concept though, right? Like,
yeah,
it's very interesting. And for those like we won't go into it, just go look it up if you're not familiar with it. Like it's interesting. But even my mom talked about how she feels like a lot of that stuff, which was coming into the market, is starting to get kind of pushed away in a sense. I'm curious. Like, I think I bring it up just to go and listen. I got a lot of the early relationships as I began building were with overseas people that came into our market.
Sure.
I got zero issue, right? So let's go there, right? Zero issue. It's more of the idea of do we think inside of car care we could see some massive changes to, right? If a brand like that or Temu, right? Like these brands that were coming in to take over is what they were doing. But now maybe we get some push out of the US, right? And we're going to maybe see some changes in car care to some of these brands that were so overseas focused.
Yeah, I mean, the question I've always had is, there seems to be a certain political party that has always been pro-tariffs, pro-cut spending, pro-America, and then you'll see those same detailers with nothing but, overseas products that they use. I've always found that thing strange. And so I think the one thing you and I have bet on, and we should be very upfront about this, is that we've bet that if we invest in manufacturing in the U.S. and we invest in people in the United States and we invest in doing things here, that will have a long-term value in the economy. And I honestly believe, look, if anybody's listened to Clutch Culture, I made a plea to any American-made company. Look, I just paid $800 for some floor mats, and they're all made in the United States. And that's where they're based. They make them here. You can see their process here. And, that's what I paid. And people can say, well, I don't want to do that and whatever. Well, then are you really prepared for what it costs to be a supporter of the United States? Because the cost is not going to be, $250 for some floor mats. That's not going to be the cost. That's going to come with a price. And I'm okay paying that price. And largely because I just don't buy that much garbage. And so when I buy something, I go, hey, I want to own this for a while. I want to try these floor mats out. I want to see what they're all about. And so I'm willing to pay the price. I get that not everybody's that way, and there's no judgment for me. I'm like you. Wherever you buy your stuff, whatever you do is your decision. But if you want higher quality and you want to make a real investment in the U.S., I think you're going to find that very few people are willing to pay the price that it takes to actually do business in the U.S.
Seems strange, doesn't it?
Oh, it's always been, it's the most hypocritical thing in politics. 100%. I mean, it's the most hypocritical thing in the economy. Everybody wants to be pro-U.S. until it's time to cut the check. But like I said, we have automated things in our warehouse. You spent the last 6 months working on softwares that we're implementing. And for those of you watching on YouTube, Marty's like got his eyes closed, shaking his head.
I'm
It's
so
been
ready.
awful.
I'm ready to be done.
But here's the deal. For us to invest in the US, we also have to invest in some automation of our business, which allows us to do the things that we need to do to keep things here. And there's just a price to pay. But I also think it does come with better quality. I mean, you can buy things overseas from the Germanys of the world. They ain't cheap, but they're well made, whether that's a pump for something or whatever. It doesn't always have to equal because you buy overseas that you get cheap stuff. It just seems to be that's what's infiltrated the U.S. economy. So all tier one economies, Germany, the U.S., let's talk about, England, the UK, Italy, those types of places. If you buy quality stuff from there, it's way more expensive than buying U.S. made, but it's quality in their world, right? So when we say cheap, we're really talking about the Asian products that have come into the marketplace. And is there going to be a change? That's what everybody says they want. But when it comes to cutting the check, we seem to think everybody keeps saying, wow, things are expensive. Eggs are expensive. This is expensive. It's like, well, look, man, if you're going to go all U.S., it's going to get expensive.
So a brush off of Temu or the $30, wheel brush that I have that's made out of that boar's hair, right? Like 2 years later, that just sits in a bucket of TRX for our wheels. We're not great at cleaning that out, let me tell you. As the way Nick saw our towel bin, and trust me, our wheel bucket ain't much better.
Well, here's the thing. That's not a concentrate of HQ. Let's be honest. The HQ's got a lot on its plate.
But that's the idea, right? Like a quality that you would pay for that is still going to last versus something that, like my sister, who, right, the interesting part, and I bring this up is because, she had a birthday party for my niece, and it seemed like she spent $1,000 on dresses and shirts.
Yep.
But I know my sister. When I joked with my mom about it, my sister didn't even spend $20. Not even $20. Who's to blame, right? Like there's this idea that you could just keep buying the cheap things over and over and over. Where will we see? And that's why I bring like another part to bring up. What will we see? And this will be interesting to keep our eyes on is, cheap chemicals in the marketplace. Who keeps buying cheap over and over and over? And eventually, or who does somebody go to and go, listen, I don't want to keep buying 5 things of this thing over. I can just buy one of this and be done. Right?
Yeah.
Like,
well, you said it about the wheel brush. I mean, there's been a wheel brush that has really been good for over a decade. I mean, that brush has been around forever. And I think you and I say in a video, I'm like, I don't know why more people have not built this brush. Well, there's a reason. They don't think people are going to buy it for $42. And I think that's what it just cost me because I just got one here for the shop. I think it was $42. But as you say, you've been beating that brush up now for going on 3 years. If I have the math right, close to 3 years. You can't beat up something off Temu for 3 years. Not the way that brush is held up, the quality that it is, the results you can get out of it. And look, I think, we've said this before. I got boxes and boxes of stuff of accessories and things around detailing that have been sent to us. You know it. I mean, I can sit here and pull people.
We talked about one of the recent
episodes. Yeah, the quality is just not there. And again, that doesn't mean that we're not going to try to solve the issue, but you got to ask yourself, what do you care about? And at the end of the day, I just don't want to get online and keep ordering stuff. So if I can just order it once and go, I don't have to worry about this for the next 3 to 5 years. I'm just more inclined because to me, nothing is really that cheap anymore, right? When it comes to an accessory, like a wheel brush can still run you, let's call it $22 or $23. Well, if I just buy the $40 one, I won't have to order it for 5 years. And this one, I probably have to order 3 and 4 times in that time frame. Mine's more of a convenience thing at this point. I just want the higher quality thing because I don't want to have to worry about it again. And I think, look, you and I have been through the times when polishers started to come through the U.S. and they started to disrupt that part of the market. Look, man, a lot of that stuff was extremely low quality, right? It was. And now they got to a breaking point where they couldn't go any higher quality because they weren't going to upgrade the interior parts. They weren't going to make better plastics. They weren't going to make better bearings. They weren't going to do these things. So then you got to say to yourself, is this good enough for what I pay? And that's a decision everybody has to make, because sometimes it is good enough. Sometimes you go, yeah, man, I just don't want to spend more than this. But there always is a trade-off. I think you and I both know that. Is that it may sound louder, it's got a more shrill sound to it, it vibrates more when you use it, it does all these kinds of things. And so you have to make those calls. But if you want things to ultimately last, then you're always going to have to pay for something that's a little bit higher cost. You're always going to have to do that.
All right, fun discussion. Let's get into it. I think it's interesting. Look like a good quality brush. When do you decide on cheap processes, right? Because Daytona 500, giving a big shout out to their operations director. So busy that the Daytona 500, he had to get out and wash some cars. You saw the post.
I saw that, yeah.
Right? Really interesting. And say your joke too, right? It was a funny part of what you observed. But, this guy's out with a brush, and it's, what's it, a Cadillac? I don't remember. It was beautiful.
It was black. The Beast, right? It was the Secret Service Cadillac for the president, I think.
I think you're right. And serious because had his phone holder on the
hip. Yeah. He was ready to do business. I forgot that. You knew he was serious because he had the old phone holder on the jeans there. Yeah, no, I forgot about that. Yeah, that's when you mean business. When you got the phone on the hip.
Right. Okay, we're here to do business. We're the Daytona 500. We got the president's car, and he's over there with a brush. And us detailers were cringing.
And by the way, that was an actual broom, right? That's wild.
I don't think it was a broom. But I think it was a broom handle, right? Then they probably took a.
No. I think it was a broom. Okay, but let me ask you a question. So let me say this. That is cringeworthy.
Let's say it was a broom. Let's give them greatest quality. They're the Daytona 500. It's the president's car. They bought the best brush they could have found at that moment.
It's still not necessary. That's the thing you keep going back. But here's the crazy thing. There was a car care company there.
You would have thought.
But here's the crazy. When I was at Barrett-Jackson, we had like 35, 40 mile an hour winds. Okay. And in Phoenix, you get dust storms, like legitimate dust storms. Okay. We don't really get those here to the level Phoenix does when they get wind. So they got these dust storms, Marty. It's blowing through the tent. You can see the dust in the air when you're walking in the tent. They're polishing cars. Well, there's a brand there polishing cars. And I'm like, so I look at the guy, and the guy was working there. I go, hey, man, it's got to be tough on you. He goes, don't get me started. And I'm like, why are you doing this? He goes, don't let us stop. And Marty, next up is a Ferrari, and and I'm going, it's 35 mile an hour winds. And this is an open tent. You know what I mean? Like there's openings to this tent. The door's open. The dust is everywhere. And they're just grinding the old dust right into the paint. And you go, so as detailers, some of you are buying from this brand, FYI, because they're sponsoring Barrett-Jackson. They got workers there that they're paying.
Who are certified and have awards and all this great stuff.
And you go, but you're going to lose it over a guy who's an operations manager who doesn't know anything better? Because I got to tell you that the Barrett-Jackson thing, those guys do know better. They got whole carts set up and all the products are there and they're putting on a big show.
I thought you were going to tie them in. That's why I was saying they were certified.
And I just go, you feel for this operations manager who was just doing what he was told to help out. But what detailers who really haven't gone and experienced certain things don't realize is you have a lot of car care brands that would have done that. I've worked at SEMA as a contractor with brands and the people they hire and the things that happen. You've been at SEMA and looked at the work. I got news for you, man. You can laugh at that guy, but there's a lot of people that think that's acceptable that you're buying products from. Guaranteed. He may have consulted one of them. You don't know.
Man, go grab this brush. Oh, you got a broom up? Yeah, just unscrew this, put this on. He even had a mop bucket. Which is why I think you thought it was a broom, which makes sense, right? Like, and it could have been a broom that they unscrewed, right? Oh, we'll give him that. But had a mop bucket he was rubbing down, right?
Hey, what I tell you, when you put a cell phone on your hip, you're getting things done, Marty. You're getting things done. You don't have time to worry about some scratches. You got to get the beast all cleaned up.
In a pinch, what do I need to do that's better, huh? What would I have done if I'm in a pinch and I need to do something better?
I mean, damn, dude, even just detail spraying a towel, I mean, which
Yeah,
is
that's what I
not
was just saying.
great. And none
Glass
of us would
cleaner, maybe
advocate it. I
even.
mean,
Right.
anything would have been better than taking that. But again, this is where you have to be realistic. Okay. You have to understand that not everybody's a detailer. Not everybody's going to look at that and have the cringe that we all have. And it's fun to have a joke and it's fun to pass it around and text people and have a joke. But this is kind of what the detailing industry has missed, is that, there's a wide variety of rich and poor and in between that just don't care about this stuff. And we're not going to change it talking and speaking and doing the things we've been doing for the last 20 years that I've witnessed, which is completely alienate most people from these conversations. I mean, that's just the facts of it.
Great point. Great point. We could all, complain about cheap products or cheap this or cheap, but so many of us just allow cheap processes to keep going on. We don't even think about we could understand how buying cheap could hurt the economy, because now, right, some changes, right? If you give too much to one group and buy too much from them, they could come in and start to take, right? Which is what same thing with processes. Too many cheap processes trying to cut too many corners causes problems. Where let's all just go ahead and agree to that moment. We'll get on to the next point. Is if you continue down the same as other people in the economy, if you continue down the same process with cheap processes, you're gonna end up getting the bad results. All right, last two things, as we mentioned a second ago. Inside the HyperClean Specialist Group, Dan made a post, and he was really thankful to you and I, to things he has learned over the years, and really wanted to get out there now to go offer, in a sense, a new service, right? Like something new, and it's more of that maintenance that, every week to 2 weeks.
Yeah, like an express service, yeah.
An express service. Great photos of the way he put in some design and some different things like that. I loved what he did, right? I think that the key that I wanted to bring out of that moment, which we already talked about a second ago, was, you had golf clubs. I chose a different, where I went after, more office complexes where people were working. One of
Yeah, when he says golf clubs, everybody, he doesn't mean actual golf clubs. He means country clubs. So you said it twice. Like, it's not, I don't want people to think I was just walking around with some golf clubs on my back. Yeah, we were going after country clubs. Yeah.
Great point. Here we say golf clubs.
Yeah.
But you're right. Okay. There are actually the stick clubs too, but we just say golf. Yeah.
Yeah. I just didn't want people to be confused. That's all.
Oklahoma. Yeah. Ding, but so, you did the golf country clubs. Yeah. I did, I went targeted, places where people were working, and the slogan we had was, you work, we shine, or you shop, we shine, which was a mall, right? Like things that where people were doing something they couldn't get away to wash their car, but they were affluent enough, they valued a clean. And so we would go handle that problem for them, right? We've all done a couple different, well, not all of us, which is the point of the conversation. And that is the point, right? Love the post. I love where he's going to go target something new, try something new. We see many other posts, which you sent me one. You can see different people. We're now online. I sent you one. I'll talk about other where, somebody here locally was complaining. Hey, come support my local business. If you don't, I'm going to go out. But here Dan's going out and hunting. Yeah. Hey, let me go find something new. And that's where I wanted to heartbeat on. I love the hunt, Dan. Great job, man. I love it. Go hunt.
Yeah, I think this is probably something, I think winter hit people pretty hard. A lot of the United States wasn't used to, I think you can even say it in Oklahoma at HQ. You weren't used to so many days of, things are really bad. And so it looks like
Weather.
the lower half of the United States probably wasn't prepared for how bad the winter was going to be. Most of you up north, you're pretty used to it. Although, we make jokes that some people are surprised when winter comes. But at the end of the day, Dan is like, hey man, I want to offer a service. Dan has a shop. He's like, hey, I just want to be able to go out, and reach some more clients and do some different things. Probably just out of stretching his legs. Sometimes it's just nice being out of your shop. I would assume there's some of that, but there's also some problem solving, which is, hey, maybe the economy's changing. Maybe the customer's changing a little bit right now. And, you and I see a lot of posts on the internet. Like, let's be very clear. We see a lot of posts on the internet that are sad, cringeworthy, use the word that you want to use. And we talk about this all the time, is that the people that are against going out and shaking hands are going to really struggle as the economy falters, which we basically started to see happen the second half of 2024. We've definitely seen the last 60 days have been very, very difficult for a lot of people in our business. We obviously we all expect that to pick up as the weather kind of clears, but what if it doesn't? And you do have to go knock on some doors, and you do have to go meet some people, and you do have to go do some of those things. I don't know that everybody's prepared for that, because that hasn't been the last 4.5 years. And those that are, like Dan, or a lot of us that are in a specialist group or that follow this podcast, I've advocated over you going out, and I've advocated that you go out and shake hands before you ever spend a marketing dollar. I've said that long before I was an owner of HyperClean, that people need to go out and meet people. And you need to stop thinking that somebody's going to save you on the internet. That stuff is great as icing on the top once you have some money coming in and you can support those marketing efforts, which are in the thousands of dollars every month. Fantastic idea. But there's a lot of people that never get to that place because they don't go out and shake hands and meet people and network. And so it's awesome to see, man. It's awesome to see a guy like Dan doing that, who, by the way, has been in this business a long time, but many other people that reach out and go, hey, I'm going to start going and shaking some hands. Look, that's always going to be the winner in a local business. The more connected person is always going to win. And the internet's not going to outpace that. It just never will.
And I love Brian, right? Now in dealerships, preloading cars with coatings. Maybe Dustin will catch on eventually,
Yeah.
We joke with Dustin, right? He posted in the group about coating cars at dealerships. Dustin, we've been talking about that for now, 7 years? You were on the community pub, right? We've been talking about some ways that you guys can go after, and the dealership is one. You complain about dealerships, we'll go in and change them. You complain about something, go in and change them. Go hunt.
Yeah, it's a business opportunity.
Time to go hunt.
Yeah, there's a lot of business opportunities. I think, look, you're going to see a lot of dealerships start to really flail. You and I have been through this before, where they have this boom time. They just had the biggest boom time in the history of the car dealership world. They've never had a boom time like the last 4 years. Wait until you see the panic that they have coming out of this, because it'll happen fast, furious, and they'll make tons of bad decisions and very few good decisions. But you can be one of the good decisions, right? You can be one of those people that's a good decision. It's a good business decision for them. But you are going to see desperation that many of you have never seen. You and I have seen it because we've been around long enough. But going through the boom time that they went through the last 4.5 years to now way past where they were, down levels that they haven't seen since 2015, 2014, 2013, you're going to see them make some real big swings at things. And one of the ways they're going to take swings, and there's a lot of people that think this, is in the aftermarket. The aftermarket, there's dealership groups buying shops. There's dealership groups in big cities buying shops, folks. Like, I'm not advocating that you all have to go do dealers. I'm saying, like Marty said, look at the opportunities. Keep your eye on the opportunities, and dealerships is an opportunity. Going to affluent areas is an opportunity. And I think this is going to be a fun time for those that are ready to go do some stuff, for sure.
right? Others will flail, and then those in the community will keep climbing. It's wonderful to see. I love the dealership idea, right? And I hope we'll talk even further, future about ways people can go in and interact at dealerships. It's awesome to be able to go in when we're thinking car care and increase the local community's awareness of proper car care. So, in order to do that, let's finally close with the last question, Nick. Would you rather? Go back to a good fun. Would you rather? Would you rather have your car cleaned by the guy on roller skates inside the specialist group,
That's funny.
or the Corvette guy inside the specialist group? I thought that was a fun little word. The guy's getting in and out of the vet. This show is brought to you by Corvette. For those of you that didn't know, we talked a lot about a Corvette and Corvette guy today, right? So there was a fun post inside the group where the guy gets in and out of the vet and he's changing clothes. I did see when Zaya was showing me his car, I did see some white tennis shoes over in the corner. I didn't verify if there was an in on there.
Hey, Zaya slander at the end of the podcast here. I'd say this, that I think I got to take the Corvette guy. Those roller skates, I can't do it. I got to be out. I maybe the Corvette guy is just the one that knows what he's doing. I just got to take the skates are out. I can't have skates around. Yeah, I can't.
It's not Sonic. We love Sonic and love a double cheeseburger at Sonic.
I also love those videos of people that have and there's all kinds of places around the country, not just Sonic, where they deliver stuff by skate and somebody just spills all the slushies and you can never fast forward through those videos because it's just you feel bad, you laugh, you feel bad again, you laugh some more. It's dude, it's priceless.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, great episode. Everybody go interject and HyperClean Specialist Group on Facebook. We'll see you guys there.
See you guys.